Good evening. Welcome to all of you who are here in our Commissioners Auditorium tonight, and those of you who are out there in Pitt County TV land. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and we'll do our roll call, Commissioners. Thank you. And we'll have our invocation by Lauren White, and Mike Kilpatrick will do our pledge. If you'll stand, please.
Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us tonight as we make decisions. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Ms. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion, a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. Okay, thank you very much. And we have our public addresses to the board. Do we have anyone signed up?
Madam Chairman, no, unless there's somebody in the audience who'd like to come forward.
Did anyone come in late, not get an opportunity to sign? Okay, thank you very much. And we'll start with our items for report. Sam Croom, if you will come forward, please, with our 2019 tax collection report. Thank you.
y'all tonight. I'm here to report the March 2019 tax collection report. The combined collection rate for all real and personal property as of March 31st, it was 98.39%, and that's compared to 98.22% at that same time period last year. Pitt County Tax Administration continues to pursue all outstanding taxes using all the necessary remedies available to us.
Okay, any questions?
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. Keep up the good work. And Brian?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners. I have with you tonight your financial report for the month ending on March of 2019. 75% of the year, we are 3/4 of the way there. Our revenues are at 78%, while our expenditures are at 72%. We are right where we should be. Those numbers are slightly less than last year's due to some large capital purchases that we made in the prior fiscal year. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions?
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. If you'll vote, please. Okay. And we have our, from the Trillium Behavioral Health Community Response for Hurricane Florence. This is the report, right?
Yes.
I'll turn it over to the manager to introduce you.
Yes, we actually have a report on Hurricane Florence, not Floyd. Floyd was 20 years ago. I think we had a little mix
That's
up.
what I
yes,
was wondering. I
we-
said,
Yeah.
what?
They're
It
probably-
was written down, Floyd.
It was.
I did read it.
Yeah. There are
I should have
lessons-
known better.
Lessons we learned in Floyd that I'm sure that we used in Florence, but this report is on Florence.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Christy Edwards. I'm the Vice President of Clinical Operations. Unfortunately, Cindy Ellers, who's our Executive Vice President of Clinical Operations, wasn't able to be here, but I was happy to stand in because I live in Pitt County. So we wanted to tell you tonight a little bit about what Trillium did, one, in preparation for the storm last year, two, in response to the storm, and then some ongoing efforts that we have. And we think that this is important because we know right now it's April 22nd, but we're moving quickly towards June 1st when hurricane season will be upon us. So before the storm, Trillium initiates emergency operations. That means that we have staff step in and contact all of the members that we support who have mental health, substance use, or developmental disability challenges. And try to secure methadone treatment for people who are opioid dependent, make sure people have prescriptions for their behavioral health needs so that they can stay up to date on those while the storm is occurring. And then we activate an emergency command center at Trillium Health Resources that's available 24/7. And so, in sum, over 300 people at Trillium activate this emergency response plan to do this outreach to the members that we support. During the storm, we respond to all calls. And so what's a little bit different about that, we respond to all calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. What's a little bit unique and different about that is typically during storm, first responders are not able to go out. And so if you have a member who calls who might be experiencing thoughts of harming him or herself, it's just us and that person on the phone to de-escalate that person. Or if you have a person who is homicidal, thinking about hurting someone else, it's us and that person really working together to try to de-escalate. During the storm, as you know, Florence kind of hovered over the area for quite some time, and so it was a lengthy process. We fielded 913 calls. Emergency operations lasted at Trillium for a period of 10 days and ended on September 20th. During the storm, we had licensed clinicians who were available to accept those calls. And we also had our emergency manager who was on site at the time, who was monitoring the situation and working directly with state emergency operations at Department of Health and Human Services to take any of those calls. So once the storm passes, then we go to activate our recovery response. And for Trillium, that looked like, one, setting up a distribution list. As you guys are aware, we cover 26 counties. And so our southern region was heavily impacted. We have staff who lost their homes in the storm. And so, one, we wanted to reach out to our staff and make sure they're okay. And two, reach out to the members that we support to see, are they okay? Those group homes that have some of the most vulnerable members that we support, did they get evacuated? Are they safe right now? Can they get back to their home? We also set up a donation page for some of those items that are hard to come by for people after the storm. We were really fortunate. Our communities really rallied around us to support folks, and we ended up with over $30,000 worth of donations of food, clothes, snacks, hygiene items. We contacted approximately 450 providers in our network to be sure if they were open, could they meet people's needs, again, for methadone maintenance or Suboxone treatment as an opioid replacement therapy. People have to take those doses daily, and so we wanted to make sure people were getting what they needed and weren't experiencing withdrawals as a result of the storm. So we also put together over 4,000 care packages. We were able to distribute those, some within Pitt County, and over 1,500 comfort kits. We know children were in the shelters for extended periods of time in some areas, and so it was really important for kids to understand what was going on and have a little bit of comfort with them. We exhausted about $25,000 worth of resources trying to help people get back home, because sometimes they evacuated to areas, particularly group homes, and other folks evacuated as far inland as Charlotte, and so it was a challenge for them to get home. So we spent a lot of effort to help people get home and to help people stay in hotels when their housing was not available in the moment. We had staff who were out at distribution centers helping to volunteer in the communities that we serve. See some of the pictures there of our staff. We worked about 3,000 hours at various distribution sites throughout the counties that we support. And when DSS opened the emergency food stamps, we were there to try to support people who might be experiencing behavioral health symptoms as well. We had a grant program that we initiated. We know lots of classrooms were damaged through the storm, and particularly in special education classes, some of those resources for calming or sensory input are really important. So we implemented a grant program called Blooming Again. We were able to help schools. And we also had a partner, LME MCO, Cardinal Innovations, out in the western part of the state, who donated 1,000 backpacks with school supplies for students that we were able to distribute in the community. And I'm going to invite Taleka Williams, who's our head of HUD Housing Initiatives, to share with you about an ongoing effort right now called Back at Home.
Hello, everyone. Back at Home, we began Back at Home. It's a North Carolina State initiative. We were able to go out the very first 2 weeks after the storm hit, and were able to actually assess over 200 individuals and households to determine what their housing needs were. During that time, we were able to actually house those individuals. Over 200 households were affected during that time. We were able to assess their needs and connect them to different resources within those communities. At this current time, there are assessments that are being conducted through the 211 system. We can actually connect those individuals that may need housing assistance now through Back at Home. At the beginning of April, we've actually rehoused over 202 households, which includes 268 adults and 166 children. In Pitt County alone, we've housed or connected with 5 different households in Pitt County. Initially, the criteria for Back at Home was to assist non-homeowners and people who are living in the disaster-impacted counties. At this current time, the initiatives or the eligibility criteria has changed some. So we are actually doing those preliminary assessments through the 211 system. So if there's anyone that you are aware of that may have a housing need that was impacted by the storm, or that may have a housing need that may live in one of those disastrous counties, we're actually referring those to that 211 system. And a assessment is completed for those individuals, and then they can be referred over to a rehousing agency at that time to see if there's an additional assessment or additional assistance that we can provide for them at that time. These efforts are going to be assisting individuals and households with housing needs at least until April of 2020 at this current time. And again, if you know of any households or any individuals that may be needing any kind of housing assistance, please have them referred to the 211 system. Any questions?
Any questions?
I know one family that still have issues, and I ended up sending them to Raleigh, and they still couldn't find the office that they wanted. So I would appreciate a direct person that I can refer them to, and then they won't be running around because it's been back and forth and back and forth. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I will give you a card so you can definitely make sure you can contact me, and I can see what I can do to assist with that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
So to date, we've had 96 Trillium staff who were engaged in the immediate response to the storm. And one more grant program that's ongoing that we'd like to share with you. We actually have one of our staff here, Jacqueline, in that lovely blue T-shirt. So FEMA has funded, you guys might have seen the press release last week, FEMA has continued funding for the Hope for NC program. Trillium is operationalizing that in this county and the 12 other counties that were considered disaster areas during the storm. And so what crisis counselors do through that program, they go out and canvass the neighborhoods that were impacted by the storms. They might go to churches or other community events to do outreach, to provide emotional support. But the primary thing they do in addition to emotional support is link people with the resources that they need. And so in Pitt County alone, there have been 7,300 contacts made with survivors. That's what the grant calls people who experienced the storm. There are 7 staff on our team. And I just wanted to share with you the story of a 65-year-old man in Grifton who was a homeowner, and he experienced significant damage to his roof. And during the course of the storm recovery, he struggled to find resources to repair his home. So he contacted Hope for NC. We were able to link him with someone to come out and assess the home. Unfortunately, it was determined he wasn't able to remain in the home because of the extensive damage. And so through the services that Hope for NC provided, there was a lot of emotional support, and he was linked with disaster case management and is now working towards finding new long-term housing, but is currently in a housing situation temporarily so that he can have some stability during this period of change. And so this is happening right here in your county, and so we just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. We have, in the grant total, we have over 120,000 contacts in the community. And I'm going to thank you for letting me share with you tonight. I'm going to invite Dave Peterson. You guys probably know Dave Peterson. He's our regional director for this area, to talk about some considerations for future storms. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. If you remember, in January, I was out here and presented to you on what Trillium, on our annual report. And part of that presentation was taking a look at next steps. And one of the reasons why we wanted to come out to present on our disaster recovery process is because, as you may or may not know, the state is moving into called the standard plan and the tailored plan. And basically, in February of 2020, the state is going to be approximately taking or shifting about 80 to 85% of the current individuals that we manage for mental health, developmental disabilities, and substance use, and move them over into private insurance companies. Okay? We will be continue to manage the high-risk individuals, okay? And that goes live, and we'll have to apply for doing that, but that goes live in 2021 in July. But one of the things that we wanted to point out to you, the private insurance companies won't necessarily take this same exact response to a disaster as what we did, okay? And so one of the things that we're pointing out to folks in this transformation, we want to make sure that folks are seeing what the benefits are of having a local management entity in your system, in your county. We have a lot of staff that live right here in Pitt County that were out here during this disaster and helping out those with disabilities. And so as we are moving towards this Medicaid transformation, if you have things that you want to do to support us, please contact your legislators and support us doing the tailored plan, because we are the experts. We've been doing this a long, long time for managing those with severe and persistent mental illness, with severe substance use issues, and those with developmental disabilities. And so if you have any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
I have one. What impact do you think that would have here on the citizens of Pitt County when that happened?
Commissioner, that's a really good question. So this is in so much development right now. All right. We do know that they've awarded the contracts for the private insurance companies to some well-known insurance companies, and they are Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, WellCare, and AmeriHealth. Those are the four national companies that got that. And so they will be managing those people that we currently manage that are low risk. All right. What we want to try to make sure is that we stay local and try to make sure those individuals get connected to those private insurance companies so that there's no gaps in services. That's our biggest concern right now. We want to make sure that we're helping those individuals that we currently serve get into those private insurance companies that are receiving low-cost, low-risk services.
I'd like to know something.
Okay.
How long do you think it's going to take? Because you didn't select the standard plan. I just went through some training on the standard versus the tailored plan. And the tailored plan is the last one that's going to roll out.
Yep.
So how long is it going to take you to get those individuals who are already under your care in with comfort?
Yeah, and that's a really good
That's-
question, Commissioner.
I'm concerned about
And
patients.
I'm glad you went to that training with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. That was April 10th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so part of that process is there's 2 sections in the state that are going to be moving in November. And only one of our counties, Nash County, is going to be moving then for those low-risk individuals to move over to the private insurance companies. But then in February of 2020, the rest of the low-risk individuals are going to be moving into those private insurance companies. And the state has hired a company called Maximus, and Maximus is the company that's going to be helping those individuals choose a plan. They can't say you fit best in this insurance company because that would be bias. But they can give them all the information on the insurance companies that are going to be available for them, and those were the ones that I named, and then the individual can choose. If the individual doesn't choose, then they will get automatically selected into one of those plans.
Are you going to be helping them? My concern was individuals who are going to transition from where you are now to somewhere else.
Yep.
What kind of support are you giving them? Maybe I need to try with your support for the individual.
Yeah, and so what we're going to try to make sure of is our call center is beefed up during that time, because that's a really good point. A lot of these folks may get an assignment that they're now over in Blue Cross,
They don't know.
and they've been with us. All right? So they may have a lot of questions, and I'm sure that our call center is going to get a lot of those. And so we're going to make sure that we're prepared for those calls coming in to
Will
help
you be
them.
clocking them?
We'll be clocking
Keeping
the
data, keeping data.
Oh, yeah, our
Because
call
data is
center.
something they don't have right now.
She's the call center expert. She ran that call center, and yes, there's a lot of data that.
So we collect data on every call that comes into the call center, everything from the average length of handle to how long did they wait before they had a live answer, was the call abandoned? So yes, ma'am, we'll be tracking all of that and seeing how much the call volume fluctuates during that period of time, because we do expect, right now their Medicaid card says Trillium, and so they're going to contact us, and so we expect that. You know, I did want to point out that we didn't elect to not become a standard plan. We weren't eligible to become standard plans.
Okay. That's why I was wondering why you were going there instead. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Good information, though.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, we have John Demery and John Coward, the John Squared tonight.
Oh, Lord, I don't know how to change that. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. We have John Coward with Eastern Carolina Vocational. ECVC is the facility that processes our recyclables. Lately, if you may or may not know, but recycling, there's been some challenges that we face, so we thought it would be a good idea to bring John here to give you a State of the Union about recycling in Pitt County. So, John?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to be here. We have a great privilege to come before you today and give you some information based on the recycling efforts that are being done in Pitt County. We do have some good news, all news, even though there's challenges, there are a lot of opportunities that we're taking advantage of and bringing to the forefront because of the challenges that we face. Some of the main challenges that lie before us has nothing to do with Pitt County, has nothing to do with ECVC. The challenges that we're facing now has to do with a lot of exports not being able to be exported overseas, and another long word called contamination of material that we are receiving. So what we're trying to do is manage the situation as best we can and still come out on top. So we're taking advantage of opportunities. The good news, Pitt County is one of the leaders in recycling. The numbers in Pitt County is amazingly high compared to other areas of the country. So we tried to make a good partnership, and working with Pitt County has been a good working relationship to make sure that we're able to recycle materials coming in through Pitt County. One of the things, I don't know how you work this thing, guys. Y'all know? One of the main things that we look at is trying to keep our residue rate as low as possible. Residue is what's left after we get all the recyclables out of a mix. When the market changed with China not accepting goods from the U.S., we had to make some decisions on what are we going to do with that material. The material you see on this screen is what we call mixed paper. 2017, the end of 2017, mixed papers, this material is $125 a ton. We can ship it to China. China closes its doors to exports. You cannot send this material to China anymore. Domestic mills took up the slack, but by being in domestic mills, your territory is getting jam-packed from all the other materials that's coming into the domestic market. That's good and bad. It's good now that the markets are being able to build recycling locations in the domestic area so that in the future we won't have to export as much. So that's good. They're building more infrastructure to build more recycling units so that we don't have to export it. The bad news is when the prices decrease because they can't ship it overseas, our market goes down in the commodity range. So this material right here was $125 in late 2017. 2018, that went down to $50 a ton. As of today, it's a negative 15. So we have to make some tough choices, yet still recycle. So if you look at this material here, all the material you see has to be brown when it goes to the market. There can be nothing white in those bales when it goes to the market. That's where quality is going to be the driving key from December last year until now. Quality is the only thing that's going to move material. So all the bales that you see here that has white boxes in it, we have to go through the extra efforts of making sure that we sort all material out of it except the brown cardboard. The bottles you see on the screen is the PET bottles, which come from the commingle. The other paper comes out of the commingle. The way it's collected in Pitt County, the waste haulers bring it to ECVC. We have a number of persons that sort that material on the line. Oops. This is the material when it comes to ECVC right here. This is where we were running into some major issues. Our contamination rate went out the roof. Our residue rate was normally between 5 to 8%. That is our residue rate that we normally try to keep into our system. Once contamination got into the system, it went up to 35%. Contaminants, plastic bags full of clothes, numerous items, water hoses, food items. All of this material here has to be hand sorted. These bags have to be opened and put on the conveyor belt and the material is sorted out of it. That was the challenges that we're facing starting in 2018, mid-2018. So what we had to figure out is how can we combat this without having the material not get recycled. Very good news. We were able to recoup much of that material and we didn't have to send it to the landfill. Was it a challenge? Yes. We changed our processing lines. We were producing 900 tons a month before the contamination slowly crept in. Once we got the contamination, we had to change our entire process. Now with the contamination, instead of doing 900 tons per month, we're doing about 400 tons per month, 400 to 450 tons a month, because we have to slow the line down to get out the trash. The efforts of Pitt County and the city of Greenville are paying off. We're getting some good results. Starting in December 2018, we started grading every truck that comes through our facility from 1 to 10. 1 meaning it's bad material, 10 meaning it's excellent material. When we started grading the trucks in 2018, December, we were getting a lot of 1s through 4s, 1 through 5s, very low-end material. Now, as of today, I looked at my chart, we're getting 6, 7, and 8s. So that's good news, meaning it's getting cleaner. Quality is what's going to drive us from this day forward and not necessarily volume. Our main mission are people with disabilities. That is our mission that we shoot for. In order to get this sorted material done, we need people. With people comes opportunities to have more people that are not outside of the tax base. Now they're earning their living and they're making a living to do the material that we're doing. Our job, if I can get it right, our job is to make sure that we go to our customers and say, we got to clean this up. When China changed that program with the contamination, we've got an opportunity to sell materials to China still. We still are on their top quality list as of today, meaning that there are only a few companies that's on that list that can sell through China based on quality. Quantity is not going to work. Quality is the only thing going to do it. We've got reps from China that comes to our location. They will inspect a bale of material. Once they inspect that bale, it's got to have no more than 1% of contamination in a 2,000-pound bale in order to pass inspection. We're being able to get those material passed through China market with less than 1% of contaminations, and it takes a lot of work to get that done. I applaud the guys for putting in new techniques to get it done. A lot of communities across the country are going with optical eyes to sort material so you don't do it by hand. Their rate of contamination is 4 times higher than Pitt County's rate at ECVC, what we're doing. Because the optical eyes can sort, but an optical eye really can't tell what a bag is versus a hand-picked product by the person. So hand-picking the product is slower, but like I say, quality is what's going to drive the market.
Can I say one thing? The word contamination, you know, it kind of raises something up in people's minds, and I know a lot of people are interested in this. And when you say contamination, you're talking about the items that can't be recycled in the manner that they used to, not like it's a chemical or a poison or something like that, right?
Yes, ma'am. We're not,
They're articles or parts that can't be recycled like they used to be.
Well, you are correct.
Okay.
It is considered in the recycling world a contaminant because it may be a carpet, it may be a water hose,
Right.
it may be a barrel, it may be a drum, not liquid chemicals or not physical chemicals, but contamination. The recycling industry decided to use that word to have more impact on
Right.
getting it
I
cleaned
just
up.
want our public, our county to understand that that's what we're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the reason I interrupted you, because you all do such a fabulous job out there, and people are working out there making a living that probably would have difficulty finding a job, and it's
ma'am.
just such a positive thing, and I didn't want it to, you know, cause a feeling of discontent, so.
And I understand 100%.
Okay.
And we get that question asked a lot when tourists come out, and we show them what is considered a contaminant.
Right.
And a contaminant, from your perspective, is a little bit different from our perspective.
Right.
A plastic bag is considered a contaminant because it does not be mixed in that particular area that we're recycling. And you are 100% correct. Contaminants such as paints or liquids or pesticide is not the reason for this action. It is basically items that should not be put in your regular recycling bin. Plastic bags, food items, carpet, water hoses, baby diapers, all those different items that for some reason it gets into the recycling bin. We have theories of how it gets there and what the reason for they're there, but what we're trying to do is not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're trying to fix the problem rather than to dwell basically on the negatives. We've got some items in this mix here that went to China. China was the major buyer, the major player. So when they dropped out, all those other countries are the ones who have to take up the slack. There's not enough room for it. So what we're doing now is sorting more. It's more labor involved. It's more time involved. So what we're doing is trying to keep all the good items, and I really wanted the county to know that when the persons that come to our facility and said, do you guys really recycle this? Absolutely 100%. We recycle everything that comes to ECVC, or we do the processing to get it recycled. Some people think it does not go to ECVC because they haul it in the same truck as they do the other items, but I want them to know that it comes to ECVC, it gets sorted at ECVC, and is sent to the market. The prices are low, but we're still in the game, and we're committed to providing the services for Pitt County, and we do other surrounding counties, but 72 to 74% of everything we recycle comes from Pitt County. And it's remarkable the amount of tonnage that comes in through the trucks and the different areas during one day's time. We have challenges, but like I said before, we also have opportunities. The opportunities that we look for now is how can we do more? We can do a lot more if we get rid of the items that we no longer can recycle. And getting rid of that 28% to 30% of contaminated items such as carpets and rugs, now we can add more reusable items such as ones and twos and newspapers. That is what we're trying to do, is do more, but we can do more with less. If we get rid of some of the items that we can't use, now we've got more room for items that we can use. And that's the philosophy that we're using. Rather than to say we can't do it, we have to figure out daily how to change. I've been in this market for 41 years with ECVC doing recycling. It has changed in a lot of ways, but our resilience to get it done has not changed. We're making a way to get it done, and we're continuing to find ways. When the market is not there, we create markets. We go after persons. Sunoco is one of our biggest customers. They increased their loads by us by 8 loads a month Thursday when we was in there. They came in, they met with us. They need more loads because they see the quality is picking up. So I see the market is going to turn, but we just have to be resilient, stay in the market, and continue to encourage the people to continue to recycle. The things that we don't want to do is to panic, because the items that are most valuable in the mix is the items ones and twos. That's the drink bottles and your detergent bottles. We do have items like clear covers that goes over cake, the 3 through 7s, but what we're looking at now is an opportunity to shred those items into small pieces and still be able to recycle them, rather than to change the literature and tell consumers not to put it in. So what we're trying to do is to figure out a way that we can use it without telling the consumer we can't use it. Because once you change your marketing techniques, it costs a lot of money, and you may lose that recycler because now you changed the way we process. So we're just trying to be adaptive, change the market when we can, and just keep pushing. Any questions from anyone?
And what can you say about the causes for the rise in contaminants?
There's 2 to 3 causes that we've met with across the country on. One of them is when we used to have the commingle material, it used to sit on your curbside in a blue bin, a box. Now they have gone to the 90-gallon cart that's automated. So now you got more items in a box that you can't see. So when the waste driver comes through, the one-armed bandit can't see what's in the box per se, so they dump it into the truck. When they was having the square container sitting on the street, the waste driver would recognize if it's trash and not put it in the commingle bin. But now, out of sight, out of mind. It's one of those things where you automated it. Now, what do you do? How do you fix it? How do you keep out the contaminants? And contaminants could be wood. The drivers can see the wood. So that's what's causing a lot of the increased amount of contamination. Good question. Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here tonight, because you hear a lot of questions out there, and there are a lot of people who take this very seriously in Pitt County and Greenville, and the other towns in the county, and I want, everybody to understand what it is we're doing. We're still recycling. We're going at it harder than we ever had before, because we have to figure out how we can shift it around and improve it, since China is backing out. And there was a good article in the paper about this, and I hope everybody read it, but I'm really glad you're here, because this does make a big difference. And any of the commissioners that have not been out there, it is to me, one of the most phenomenal things we do in Pitt County, and you really need to see it with your own eyes, because it's, I mean, you all do a wonderful job, and the people that work out there are so dedicated
Yes, ma'am.
to what they're doing, so.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, having served on that board too, not only does the ECVC here locally, but they are recognized nationally.
Oh, yes.
For the kind of work that they do. And John has been doing a tremendous job in terms of working with recycling, so
And hiring.
you are to be commended for that, John.
Thank you so much. And you're welcome to come out and do a tour anytime you want to come out. You can come out solo, or you can come out as a team to do a tour, and we'll be glad to give you a tour of what we do. Yes, sir.
I have to say that we hear it often in the news media now, communities that have faced the challenges that you've faced, and they're just putting that right back in the landfill.
They're
So
just quitting.
this is exceptional work, and it ought to be praised that Pitt County is not putting it there. And so thank you for everything, John. Thank you both for everything you're doing to make sure that this is happening, because it's not happening in every community.
You're right.
And we're hearing it on the news, but it's not going to landfill here, and I think that's really important for folks to know.
Yes, sir.
That's
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you. Ann?
I want to say thank you for an outstanding job that you're doing, and I heard you say you don't want to focus on the negative, but do you think a campaign of informing the public about what not to put in the recycling bin would help?
Yes, ma'am, and that's a good question. We are working with Mr. Demery and with the city of Greenville in a great big meeting of all the mines, not just Pitt County, but all the areas that recycle. We're having a meeting coming up really soon, and you'll be hearing more about the meeting coming up, informing everyone on what we need to recycle and what we don't need to recycle. That's a very good question. We're working on that as we speak to get that done. We don't want to be too fast and change the literature and the market comes back tomorrow. So what we try to do is wave out the weather, and so that when the market rebounds, we don't have to go back and spend that extra money for advertising to get those same materials back. So we're trying to be proactive, but yet submissive to the terms of the commodity prices right now.
Thank you.
I just like,
John, did you have something you wanted to add? What he said.
Pretty much said it, but the
Yeah.
state also is going to be involved. They were down here last Thursday. So we're just going to bring the players together and work hard to
Good.
get things to correct.
Thank y'all for being the leaders in that. We
And Mr.
appreciate it.
Demery and his team has done an outstanding job supporting ECVC in the efforts we're trying to do and work as a team. I love the partnership, and we look forward to working many more years with Mr. Demery and his team. Thank you so much.
I just
Thank
like
you.
to see whatever you do that would help the residents keep the trash in the car until it gets to the service station, and then put it in the barrel rather than along the road, because trash can be recycled. At some point, if you can include that, maybe we can have a cleaner highway.
Thank you.
We're working on that.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Appreciate your presentation. Okay. Yes. Oh, we're down. No, we're here. Okay, Mike Emery. If you'll come forward, please. And we're going to hear about some awards.
Yes, good evening. Just wanted to give a quick update on a good news item. Thursday of a week ago at the North Carolina City and County Communicators, or NC3C conference, Pitt County did win 3 first-place awards in their Excellence in Communications Awards. Little background, NC3C is the professional organization for government communicators. Currently have over 160 members represented in that. We won, this year's awards was some of the strongest competition in the history of the organization. Had over 260 submissions across several categories, including print, video, and online mediums. We brought home 3 first-place awards, one for videography for the PSA, The Anatomy of a 911 Call, which was produced last year in conjunction with Telecommunicators Week, and premiered at the ribbon cutting for our backup 911 center. We also won 4 marketing tools with the Pat's Boardroom redesign project, which if you have not had a chance to see, I would encourage you to go over to the Pat's Boardroom for that. It was a complete top-down redesign of that room. And finally, we won for the marketing tools in our giant iPhone display, which was basically a 6-foot-tall iPhone display that was designed for the launch of the Food Finder app this past December. So, and that's just kind of an update on that.
Yay. Mike, I know you feel like you're back in the back working, but you really are appreciated, and things have really made a big change since you've been here. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
And you've got a good crew.
Yes, and
Yes.
all appropriate recognition goes to our public information specialist, Carla Hansen, and our multimedia specialist, Kyle Kettler, because without them, this crew that we have just wouldn't work.
And your leadership. Thank you. Yay. I like us to get awards. Okay, our managers report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. Number 1 is next meeting dates of May 6th and May 20th. Number 2, please have on your calendars for the budget workshops of May 7th, 9th, and 10th. And this year, with the budget outlook the way it looks, we probably will need to count on maybe a couple days, the second week, the 13th through the 17th. We've always kept that tentative on the calendar. May need it this year due to budget conditions. Item 3 is a reminder about the elected officials breakfast at Shepherd Memorial Library on the 29th at 8 a.m. Number 4 is just to re-announce the NCACC County Assembly Day on May the 8th. And number 5 is, again, to remind you about the North Carolina Supreme Court visit on Tuesday, May the 14th. Item number 6 is entitled A Letter of Support and Consent for the Vidant Medical Center. You have before you a letter of consent to the amendment of corporate articles of incorporation and bylaws. And I think, Madam Chairman, you wanted to...
Yes, we'll need a motion for that so we can approve that letter of
Madam Chair, I'd
consent.
like to make a motion that we approve the letter of support and consent for the Valley Medical Center.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and a second. Let's all vote, please. Okay, thank you very much. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
I think that's the fastest yet. Stop. Okay,
let
yes.
me ask the manager, what time would the budget workshop start, Scott?
I believe they're at 8:30 to roughly midday, 12:30.
8:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And one of the days, the first week, is out, so that's
Yes.
another reason we're gonna need to go over probably in that second week.
Wednesday, May the 8th is because that's County Assembly
Right.
Day in Raleigh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? And we've approved the items for consent. We'll go to our items for.
No, we need
Madam
to-
Chair,
Oh, please do approve them. I'm sorry,
Madam
we
Chair.
approved the agenda.
I have a question about the first item that has to do with the approval of the minutes. Because we get copies that are electronic, do we need all the paperwork that we get every week? I'd prefer not to get it because it just, if you put it on a computer, you can still search for words and phrases and stuff on PDF copies. So it might save some time and.
We can tailor the packets to board members'
I've
desires.
requested not to receive it,
Really, I don't
Tom.
want it anymore. Just
mean-
send me the electronic copy.
That's what I do, Tom. I've been doing that a long time. But some people like to get it
If the board will
printed.
let us know your preference, we can arrange your packet to be produced with or without it.
Okay. And now I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, to approve items for consent. And we have a second. Let's vote.
Was this item of consent we voted for?
Yes, ma'am. And now, Mr. Corley.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This item is our next step for our next phase of our radio and paging project. As you know, we're adding a 7th paging site in Grimesland, which we move forward with and is going along smoothly. This is the lease for the tower with American Tower Corporation. It'll be a 10-year lease. It'll be $950 per month, so it's much more cost-effective than the other leases, but that is because we're only providing paging equipment on this tower, so there's a lot less equipment. There was a mistake in the original agreement which was sent out. It is actually a 3% annual escalator, and it is $11,400 per year. So it's $950 a month and $11,400 per year. So that was misread on the actual one that was released, I think, to y'all. So just wanted to make that clear that those two items. So it's a 10-year lease with 3 5-year renewal terms. All the language within the lease is the same as the other leases with American Tower Corporation. So asking for approval to authorize the county manager and the chairman to sign the lease.
Okay,
So moved.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. We'll vote, please.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Jim MacArthur, if you'll come forward, please, relative to the medical transport.
That's right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Try to keep it brief. Here to talk to you tonight about a request from AmbuCare Medical Transport in regards to a non-emergency franchise operate here in the county. As most of you are aware, our non-emergency transport companies that provide ambulance transport are required to be authorized by the county EMS system, which is overseen by Pitt County Emergency Management, to operate their franchises in the county. AmbuCare approached us right before Christmas time with their initial request. We've worked through it with them in the Office of EMS. They submitted their application to the Oversight Committee before the March meeting, and that was approved unanimously by the EMS Oversight Committee with no comments. The other 9E franchises are represented on that committee. They have not offered any comments negatively towards adding the addition of another franchise. Laquan Rogers and Miss Mary with Mary's Care Transport, which is another type of transportation service that's been operating in our county for a long time. I think some of you may be familiar with Miss Mary. Laquan Rogers is here as well, and I forgot the other gentleman's name, and I apologize. But they're here. They can speak on behalf of their company if you'd like to ask them any questions regarding their specific business. AmbuCare is different in some of our other non-E franchises currently because they are not operating anywhere else in the state. So we will have to work through the process with them to get them a state license number so that they can operate. Pitt County will be their first base of operation if they're approved for that. This would make the 8th non-emergency franchise in our county currently. And I don't know what the maximum number is, and I apologize if there should be a cap, but I don't know of one.
We don't have a cap.
I have a question.
So, yes, ma'am.
Is that Mary right there?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to point that out.
Okay.
That's Mary right there.
And they're local people, which is a
And they are
local
local people,
company,
and
which
it's
is
not
good.
this Mary. Sometimes you get questions about things. Thank you, Mary.
They've been excellent to work with, very responsive when we've had questions, and cannot speak anything but good words about them.
Okay.
I'm here tonight to ask you for your approval to move forward.
I move approval.
Okay,
Second.
Again, there's a second. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, it hadn't.
No, we're waiting. There she goes.
Thank you. So our next
Passed.
steps will be, we'll work with them, submit that to the State Office of EMS, and we'll get them up and running. Thank you.
Welcome to Pitt County. Okay. Scott, we have a reappointment and appointments to the Pitt Area Transit System Advisory Board.
Yes, on the past board, you have several reappointments for Marshall Hall, Richard Zeck, Jamie Yanker, Helen Pays, and Daisha Lane. And the appointment then of Jonas Hill and Angela Brown.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Let's vote. Okay, and next, Mr. Elliott.
Next on the ABC Board for Pitt County, you have, with the resignation of former Commissioner Glenn Webb, his seat on the ABC Board, and I believe it's been the board's desire to have a county commissioner on there, or
Yes.
actually two, if not three, of those seats be held by county commissioners.
And as chair, I would like to recommend Mike Kilpatrick to serve in that capacity.
I think he would be perfect.
Do I? What did you say?
I think he would be perfect.
Oh. Any other comments?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, let's vote, please.
You go vote, Mike?
You do need to vote for yourself, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. And that's it. Still can't beat Chairman Owens's record yet. We'll get there. Okay, we're going into closed session.
Yes.
Do I have to have a motion before you read or after?
After I read.
After you read, okay, we'll hear from the attorney.
There's a number 4 up here.
It has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, and also under 143-318.11A1 to prevent the disclosure of confidential information. And with that, you'll need a motion.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. If you'll vote, please, to go into closed session. Mary, will you vote?
I did. I pushed it.
Okay.
I pushed it, but it didn't take.
Welcome back after our closed session. We have two matters of business. Commissioner Colson, will you?
I'd like to make a motion to extend an offer to a candidate for the Pitt County Medical Director at grade 93, increment 40, also with a $7,000 travel allowance, plus an approval for a leave accrual rate at the 5-year level.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, will you please vote? Okay, it's passed, and we'll move on with that, and if we'll have our minutes, please, of the closed session.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve closed session minutes of Monday, April 8th, 2019, at our 9 o'clock Commissioners' meeting.
Okay,
Second.
and there's a second. If we'll please vote on that. And that passes, and I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
Oh,
moved.
no, wait a minute, comments. Lauren, let's start with you.
I would like to say that my no vote tonight was not in opposition to the candidate, but to the amount of the salary. When the average household in Pitt County is making around $42,000, I just couldn't give my vote in support of that large amount of a salary.
Okay.
No comment.
Comment?
Yeah.
Comment? Comment? Comment?
Yep, I have a comment. My comments is in asking for the an agenda item to be placed on our agenda once we complete the budget process, and that the item is Pitt County Development and include concerns for the Middies Commission and commercial development for our county.
What?
Okay. Maybe she can get that request to your office or to you, Scott.
Yes.
Okay.
Not to single out a single festival in Pitt County, but just wanted to remind the citizenry that it is festival season. So it's a perfect time to get out and explore our many municipalities that have wonderful celebrations of their heritage and culture. So come out and see all the towns in North Carolina.
Good idea. Thank you for sharing that.
No comment.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, second. Let's vote to adjourn.
Tom?
We'll,
We got the motion right.